Join the coven. I want to watch you in your room from outside your window. A Let's Not Meet story written by hollyninja. A link to their original Reddit post will be available in the description down below. It was my junior year of high school, and I was new. Most people were very friendly, and honestly, regardless of this negative experience I had, I still think it was the best school I went to. I ended up hanging out with the skateboarders. Most of them were decent enough guys. We always had a great time listening to music and hitting up our local MDs after school. One of my best friends, Matt, had a twin brother named Will. Will, for some reason, didn't like me at all and was always rude to me. I tried asking Matt once why Will hated me so much, and he just said something like, "That's just how he is. Whatever, it wasn't my problem, and I never did anything to cause it, so I let it go." During the school year, I met a guy named Jesse. Jesse was odd, but he seemed harmless enough. Isn't that how all of these stories start? So I wasn't too worried in the beginning. We rarely talked and were mostly just acquaintances. Till one day, he came up to me in the hallway, handed me a note, and walked away. I was confused, but headed to my class before I got a chance to read the note. When I got settled in at my desk, I opened the note. It was mostly nonsensical. He said things like, "I want to watch you get into arguments with your mom. You're really pretty. I think we'd be good together. And the strangest one, I want to watch you play Uno by yourself." What the actual hell? It wasn't until the end that I felt the wave of chills through my body. I want to watch you in your room from outside your window. He ended the note with his signature and his phone number. No way. This had to be a joke. No one would write something so weird and be serious. I let it go, and my friends reassured me that he was just kind of weird. Will made fun of me for it. He found it hilarious. Jesse began showing up around my locker. It started out small with him just being there one period. Then it turned into every period. Every time I was there, he popped up somewhere in the hall. Our lockers were on separate sides of the school. We had no classes together, and there was really no reason why he'd be showing up all the time. But he always made his presence known somehow. Sometimes I would feel someone watching me and look around to see him somewhere in the hall. Sometimes just standing there staring at me. I absolutely hate being stared at. It makes me uncomfortable. There's no particular reason. It's just always bothered me. I just tried to ignore him and assumed it was part of the weird crush he had on me, until he followed me home one day. He didn't talk to me, just watched me walk to my house, which was just down the street from the school. I knew he never went that way and was thoroughly creeped out. I never told anyone, but I knew he was aware of where my house was now. Was he going to show up? Would he watch me outside my window like he wanted to? I never saw him near my house again. But I was still freaked out. A couple weeks later, I found a picture in my locker. It was hand-drawn and signed with Jesse's signature. The picture was creepy as hell, with an angry-looking snowman full of stab wounds that bled into a puddle around the bottom of it. I was really freaked out, but again, I let it go. I wasn't sure what I could even do. Thinking back, I should have told a teacher or the principal, but I wasn't the type to make waves, and assumed he was just playing some kind of weird, sick joke. I showed my friends again, and they said it was creepy. They asked me if I wanted them to talk to Jesse for me, but I declined, again, not wanting problems. After all, I was new at the school. Will didn't make fun of me this time, though. He looked angry when he saw it, but never said anything to me about it. After a couple more weeks, during study hall, I asked my teacher if I could go in the hall to study, since it was too distracting with other kids talking. He let me, and I headed out. Will was sitting against the lockers, also wanting to get away from the noise. He looked up at me, then back down to his book. Typical Will. I sat a few lockers down and got comfortable and started reading my book. From down the hall, I heard footsteps coming our way. The footsteps stopped in front of me, and I looked up to see Jesse looking down at me with a smile on his face and a folded up piece of paper in his hand. He leaned down and gave it to me. When I opened it, I was immediately upset all over again. It was another drawing, this time of a Care Bear with a butcher knife in one hand, his heart in the other, and a huge, bloody hole in its chest. I looked up at Jesse, and he just smiled down at me in the most sinister way. I didn't know what to say, but I didn't have to. Will saw the picture and how upset I was. He stood up, walked over to Jesse, grabbed him by the shirt, and slammed him against the lockers. "Leave her alone and don't ever talk to her again, or I'll beat the hell out of you," Will told Jesse angrily. I was completely dumbfounded. Will hated me. He never said one nice thing to me. Jesse was equally surprised by the reaction, as he barely knew Will. He mumbled something and walked away. He never bothered me again, but still occasionally showed up around me at my locker. We never spoke after that. I didn't get any more notes or pictures, and he never followed me home again. I was thankful to the rudest person I knew for standing up to me and stepping in when I felt that I couldn't. I've grown into my own, having no problem standing up for myself, but I am still thankful to Will for what he did. I never told him, but I think he knew. You're a decent artist, but Jesse, let's not meet again.